Okay, this is the Wolverine. It is 8.5 inches tall, but he's standing on about 2 inches of rock. And I'm going to mix up some Aves Epoxy Sculpt. It's a 2-part mixture. And like I said last time, as we go along, we mix up a smaller and smaller amount. So that looks about right. I try to get them to where I can't tell which one is bigger, and that's good enough. I think I saw one of our heroes, Jordu Shell, is watching, and that's an honor. I think I remember seeing him on some movie, Magic, way back when, sculpting the alien. I think it was for the 3rd Alien, little prototypes. Okay, so there's no need to overmix it. That's good enough. And we like to have a little water on hand to aid in various little things. I should have got the... our burnisher. You know it's real because it's dirty. And I've got the gloves on because for about the first hour and a half, you don't want this stuff trying to cure in the pores. In your pores in your hand. So he looks okay from this angle, but as he turns, we haven't worked on him over here. This leg is kind of looking, that's not... Both this arm is too low and this leg is a little too over to the side. I'm just looking at it through the camera, which I uploaded the live thing on my phone. We really need to get it on the laptop because I think it'll be better that way. Wolverine face. And, okay. So this fin is probably going to be a little bigger. And I just dip my finger in some water just so it doesn't stick when I pull away from it. The fins are the funnest part of any Wolverine. I'm not looking at the comments at all, and I apologize for that. Okay, hey, Ken Meyer. Yep, hey, Rob. Big Rob. Carlos Swante, another one of our heroes. One of the great anatomical masters, in our opinion. I know Brandon's a huge fan, and we have a couple of his books, Monstroso, and he's a talented guy. And that's what's great about Monsterpalooza. For anybody who hadn't been out there, if you're into fantasy sculpting, not to do a commercial for Monsterpalooza or Elliot, but it is the best sculpting show out there. You know, every booth is either makeup or sculpting. You got Simon Lee out there. All those people. Ironhead Studios. Steve Wang. And so anyhow, I'm not worried about those little fins. Could use a little more butt. Let's give him a little more cushion right there. Okay, so there's some chin issues. I'm going to try to bring the chin forward a little bit. And that's what we're almost always doing, trying to decide what can we bring forward and what can we push back. To make it more 3D. And like I talked about on the last one, the Aves, there is a tricky little area where when it's wet, it looks a little bit different than it does when it cures. So you kind of have to factor that in. He'll probably have a shoulder fin on this side, but I think it's going to be kind of battle damaged. Caesar, I'm wearing gloves. I'm wearing vinyl gloves because this Aves Apoxie Sculpt in the early form, when you've just mixed it together, it's so wet that it'll get all in your pores and then it'll start to cure. And if you did it once, it might not be a big deal, but when you're working it all the time, it's good to wear gloves for that first about an hour and a half. But this is a quality material. We didn't realize how smooth. We had heard people talk about Aves for a while. One thing you can almost always do is make the jaw bigger and make the butt bigger. Am I right? because it inevitably makes them have more mass and look more stable. See ya, cow. Later, buddy. James, Ted, what do you guys do? Man, that Schwarzenegger bodybuilder book is one of the best things you can get from Male Anatomy. We, in the early days, we tore up a couple of those. And yes, those are awesome. A lot of magazines, shit, they're not around anymore like they were. There was a point where you could go to the, any market basket and there'd be a ton of Flex and Muscle Fitness. All that's gone. Well, I mean, it's not gone, but it's not like it used to be. So anyway, we will cut up. Reference is so important. Reference. That is really measuring stuff here to here, there to there. That will resolve some problems quickly. Have we ever tried to carve the epoxy sculpt? Yes, we carve it and we Dremel it and we sand it. So here's trusty little Dremel stylus. And you can see, and we've got a ton of Dremel bits, small round bits, and we have no love for them. We're not trying to save those things. We're trying to wear them out. So yeah, carving and sanding it, and then doing another batch, and then carving and sanding that. A lot like the Sculpey process, except for there's never any baking. Yeah, I want to get that jaw out wider. And there might be some arrows sticking out of them somewhere. There usually are, right? It's good to eyeball a belt. Ooh, it was hard to do that through the camera. Okay. I find a belt line often helps. I just misplaced my auto tool. Let's see, our mom is watching. Hey, Mom. Love you. And this belt might get covered up. I'm not worried about that. Just gonna ooh, but that doesn't line up at all, does it? The lighting, I just have no idea what I'm doing. I apologize. Wolverine is always good for a couple of these little jaw muscles that go horizontal. That might be a little bit more than I meant to put on, but that's all right. What is happening right here? Approximately how long would this take? I wouldn't want to sand it before about 5 hours. I think after 5 hours, you're good to go. But it's still curing. It's dense, but it's still a little, not spongy, but it hasn't fully cured until several hours. I did enjoy McGregor versus Alvarez. I couldn't believe how short of a fight it was, because Alvarez has beaten everybody else in the division, so I don't know. Don't get me started. But yeah, all that is fun. McGregor's fun. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, it's kind of weird to look through the camera and work, which I don't have to do, but it is right here in front of me. There's something happening right in here. Oh, I appreciate what Rousey has done for the sport. I love all the women's MMA. I never thought I'd get to see it start all over again, but with the women, you see it start all over. The that are fighting now are the legends of tomorrow. So I appreciate what Rousey's done for the game. I think she's not the most personable person, and I'd be happy for Amanda Nunes to win, our first openly gay champion. I think she's awesome, and I think Rousey's being pushed into the fight. I don't know. I mean, what would it look like if she was? I think this is it. The people around her don't think she wants to fight. So, anywho, but Misha Tate was really my favorite girl fighter. She just retired. I'd like Kat Zingano to win it. I used to have my druthers. Favorite classical sculptor? Well, I mean, Michelangelo had a woman sculpting a lot of those hands. So how much is it's like team Michelangelo, and that's great. It was a different time. I think Brandon and I both like Bernini. At some point, I'll figure out exactly where these knuckles are. Omar, this is Aves Epoxy Sculpt. Dave, we are self-taught. What do we listen to when we sculpt? A lot of 80s music. I like a lot of rap, but I'll listen to just about anything. Maybe some Smiths or maybe some Randy Travis. You just don't know with me. Yeah, we've been debating if we're going to do claws on this because it is probably make it in this same stuff, this Aves. Because you can sand it and get it really smooth. So there's that line that's coming down from the bicep, but a couple of other good veins are like this vein right here. It kind of comes up from under the forearm to the top of the forearm. Now he's going to have gloves on, or maybe not, but even if he had gloves on, we'd still give him a little vein action maybe right there. A little bit, Omar, but you've got about 2.5 hours. And then you can we're just mixing it up in small increments right now. And as we go further and further along, we're mixing it up in smaller and smaller increments so it doesn't cure and you've got a big batch of it wasted, which we do all the time. It definitely goes through several stages. So that's another little spot to do a vein. It definitely goes through this super soft, which this batch, still in its first half hour, is still very soft. Sometimes, depending on what we're making, we might mix up a little and set it aside for an hour because it's a lot different at about an hour. Okay, now let's do a little superhero costumes are so crazy. I mean, who would have these little like diaper shorts on over some, but whatever, you got to do it. So I'm going to try to get the belt to line up because in the front it's way down here and then in the back it's way up here. So that's not good. You might hear my dogs making some weird noise. And they're just rolling around. Okay, it's telling me my connection is weak, so I don't really know what that means. So this is our process. I mean, it's a lot of putting little bitty pieces on over and over. Oh, John Mahoney, are you having signal issues? Are you having a weak signal? I've got to make sure not to dip the tool into my coffee, which is precariously close to the water that I'm using. So, and you can see I'm just doing a little water to clean this up. And you can always make these neck muscles a little bigger, especially on Wolverine. You know, this jaw on the side of the face is out here a little too far right now. So I'm going to bring it back in. I guess the back of the mask is in there. Right about. The ears are always further back than you think they are. They're always further back than I think they are, I should say. Can we get a view of the left side too? Which is the left side? This side? The left side. His left side. Oh yeah, the truth is we focus on the money shot. Boom, right there. You can almost always turn around our pieces and they get crappy from the other side. And we do apologize for that. And I basically want to make his back muscles as big as possible, right to the edge of, oh my god, that's not humanly possible. Because it is Wolverine. And he's got a huge back. And if there's one thing I can show while we're sitting here, is how all the muscles spiral from down here. They start curving all the way, and they come back around into the back. So all those ways, you can just do a little line of muscle. And you always know which direction. And that will lead you right. As true as righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Man, woman, chicken, primate, all kinds of animals. The same. Don't. Hey, John, thanks, man. Yes, this is just made with Apoxie, Aves Apoxie Sculpt. And the wire is alloy, and we bind that with different gauges of floral wire. So the floral wire has this cloth woven around it. And when you hit that with super glue, it becomes this strong yet flexible cocoon. I always like dudes to have kind of big stomachs. Kind of world's strongest man. Yeah, you got to have a strong core if you're Wolverine. It's very important. And I just realized he doesn't have any serratus, does he? He's got the lat, and then he's got his ribs. But we're missing one of the funnest little parts. He doesn't really look angry enough. Somebody asked me about the water. Yeah, I'm using the water just to kind of smooth out, just to kind of resolve. When I see something I don't like, I'm just like, oh, resolve it out with the water. Now, see, if I keep adding more and more little strips of muscle, it will come out too far right there, which it's just on the hair of doing. Let me go back and show. See, it'll start coming out too far. Yeah, like I was talking about earlier, all this is too low. But that's where the armature wire is. So it's kind of fucked up. See, you can see the armature wire. So I don't know what we do. What we'll do. We might fix it. We might not fix it. Whoa. Here's another little thing we've been doing. This is a little skull. This is a little dragon head. These are going to be some lower price points for the booth. There's that. Here is the chupacabra. And there's that. So that piece on his chin is making his chin look funny, but keeping it real. That's what it looks like when it's wet. Some of the best action lines in the business is this little curve on Wolverine's head. It makes everything look fast. And they're fun to do. And it's also fun to do his belt and put the X on there. And if any of that looks good, I'll keep it. And if it doesn't, I'll carve it off or something. Okay, now I'm looking at it through the camera again. So I'm going to build up his oblique so he's not as flat right in there. Because no matter how big I make his stomach right here, if the oblique isn't there, it's not going to... There we go. Yeah, so the belt needs to be up higher. And that's fine. What are you working in, Scott? Sculpey or Aves? You know, one thing you can almost always lean towards is doing smaller pieces. Like if I'm going to put, instead of putting a big ass piece on his shoulder, cut that piece in half and put it, well, I'm not going to put it right there, but wherever. Because you can always, we're additive. You know, a lot of stuff is subtractive, where you're raking away or you're carving away, and we do that, but the majority of it is additive, where we're just putting on piece over piece. Yeah. Well, with Sculpey, you know, one of our best tricks is once it's baked, if you want to add more Sculpey to it, just wipe on a little petroleum jelly and then wipe it off really well. And then the unbaked Sculpey will adhere. But fresh Sculpey should be adhering to fresh Sculpey. So if it's not, you might have a bad batch. Hey, Joe. Joe Minna, everybody. You've seen his videos. Yeah, William B. Hand, petroleum jelly. And any kind of petroleum jelly. We do use Vaseline. The other thing is when the still fresh Sculpey, before you've baked it, right before you put it in the oven, if you want to get a little rubbing alcohol, we use 91% rubbing alcohol. And you can get a clean paintbrush and smooth it up with isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Now it's going to leave the surface a little tacky, so you want to do it right at the end. But man, you can clean something up. See how like I'm smoothing this with just water? If you're working in Super Sculpey and you get some water, it won't do that. But if you get rubbing alcohol, and there's 70%, there's 99%, there's 50%, but we go with the 91%. And you can find that in any 7-Eleven, any store, anywhere that's going to have isopropyl or rubbing alcohol for about $1. Okay, so I'm going to smooth these little muscles I put on. His shoulder's getting kind of liney, like there's too many lines in it, but boy, I never thought Wolverine would be 6'3". In my day, Wolverine was 5'6", 5'7". But I do love Hugh Jackman. He's great. Whatever problems with those Wolverine movies there are, it's not his fault. But the point being, I'm going to thicken these. And William B. Hand, man, you are a badass. I was just telling Brandon about your work, and you are really doing some cool looking stuff. All right, I just got a battery low warning, so I'm not sure what that's about. I thought I was charged up. Maybe the broadcasting uses up a lot of power. But anyway, Just kind of building up the back of him, the back of these muscles. And yeah, this leg has a little curve to it right there, a little bit more than I'd like, but try to bring it over this way a little bit. I might not should point out all the things that are wrong with it, but that is really, that's the whole game, is seeing the stuff that's wrong with it. Your mind tells you, oh, that's messed up. And then do you want to deal with it or not? I mean, because it all, like I'm saying, this curve in this leg, I may or may not want to fuck with it. It might just be curved. This line in this tricep is a little harsh, so let's get rid of that. A huge turning point for us. For everybody it's different, but the Bisley Lobo. I loved Lobo and Bisley. And so whenever I get into these triceps, yeah, looking at it through the camera is almost like taking a picture of it. We'll take pictures of stuff to see, okay, how's it really looking? Or look at it in the mirror, change the lighting, put a light right over it, take it out in the sunlight. All kinds of little tricks to So one vein we always like to do is, and this is going to be a little bigger than it would normally be, but just want to show it. So on the hand, kind of comes, you can connect it from this one. It comes all the way around the hand. So in what always looks the best is if you can get the little lines of the bones coming down and then get the vein going over those in and out. So imagine I did that there. Yeah, we do. We pass the pieces back and forth all the time. Brandon just came in and we talked about how this leg was too long. And so another thing is, like I was talking about, he doesn't look angry enough. All right, everybody. Appreciate everybody watching. And next time, Brandon's going to be here, and we're going to maybe show some other pieces or something. But I appreciate everybody watching, and check out our online forum, Shiflett Brothers Sculpting Forum, where a lot of sculptors hang out day and night talking shop. I'm getting another battery critically low, so I'm going to turn it off. Peace.